Hello, welcome to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures. I'm Kristin. Polly is usually with me, but she's out on a major hike in Arizona, so she's got the day off. But with me today, I'm super excited for this guest, Marra St. Clair. How about that for a welcome? So Marra's here to talk about human design, and we're going to get into that. I want to give like a little backstory on how we first met. Should we give them the link to do their chart while we're talking so they can catch up?
Yeah.
Okay, so take it away.
Okay, so we're going to speak about human design today, and to really get the most out of this episode, if you have the capacity to go to my website, marrastclair.com. Will it be written up on here? Or should I spell it out? Okay. And then you go to the top right, it says get your chart. And from there, if you input your own birth data, you'll be able to see your human design chart and follow along with exactly what it is that I'm talking about during the session.
Because otherwise it might feel a little lost, but it'll all make sense as we get going. So do that now. And otherwise, our backstory is we met just down the street from where we're recording this podcast, circa 2002.
So, yeah.
Oh my God, 22 years.
Yeah.
And we haven't aged a day, okay? So we went through a Pilates certification together where we're both certified Pilates instructors. And that's kind of how we met. And I adored you from day one. You gave me little sister vibes. I'm significantly older. And it was just a great group. Like, I feel as though it was a pleasure to go through that program with those women. It was awesome.
Totally.
And life happened, and I want to catch up and kind of, you can tell us how you got from there to human design.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's many, many details, but give us whatever you are comfortable giving us.
Sure.
John and I had kids, and now we have teenagers. You, I remember back then, were dating your high school/college sweetheart.
Yeah. Who's
Tom.
now my husband.
Okay, here we go. So catch us up on from there to how you fell into the world of human design and all the fun things in between.
Oh gosh. So from Pilates till now.
Yeah.
Abbreviated version.
And I believe there's some juice in there.
Yeah. Yes. Juice. So we graduated from our Pilates program at the same time that I was graduating college, actually, or maybe a little bit before.
That was so impressive that you were doing college and the certification, because it was an intense certification. Like, that was a lot. So kudos to you.
And waiting tables.
Yes. So that's
Debbie,
the kind of go-getter we're dealing with here.
Yes.
Like, your work ethic is on point.
Yeah. Well, ambition's my sun energy and human design.
Okay.
And so sun energy is the piece of your design that's the most potent influence in your chart.
Yeah, that resonates.
Yeah, for sure. It tracks. So then I taught Pilates for several years, almost a decade, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was in Newport Beach doing that. And I had a stint in there where I moved to Paris with Karen Ciatti, who was also in our program. And we opened what was the first studio in Paris.
How long were you in Paris?
So she was there longer than me. I was there about 6 months, and she was there maybe 9, I think.
Karen was the physical therapist?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Oh,
yeah.
how fun. Is she still there?
She's still doing physical therapy and Pilates.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, she's not there.
Okay.
Yeah.
How fun. That's cool.
So that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, came back to Orange County, was teaching Pilates. You know, I got diagnosed with celiac in college, which that was in 2002 that I got the diagnosis. So right around when we were in Pilates school, people didn't know what that was at the time. It was really hard even just getting the diagnosis. And so that's when I first started juicing.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was doing it like as a healing modality for myself.
Okay.
People didn't really understand what it meant, and there weren't ingredients like readily available. And my mom's Italian, so pasta just kept coming. So I needed to like figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then
this is a time when we didn't have like all the resources online that we do now. Like you could do some research, but you were digging.
Yeah. And so juice felt really safe.
Okay.
Right? There was no possibility of cross-contamination.
Right.
And during this time when my body was really sensitive and I needed to figure it out.
And you're making it yourself.
No, there was a place, Rainbow Acres in LA, that I was getting juice from at first. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was in college still, and that was what was easy.
Yes.
And then once I was teaching Pilates, I would do juice cleanses, and my client base, as you know, like people really trust what it is that you're doing. And so that kind of became a topic of conversation in the studio.
Okay.
And that was really what imprinted the seed of maybe this is a business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I started a juice cleanse business in 2010, which was before juice.
Yes.
Cold pressed juice
You were
was
juicing before
everywhere.
juice was
Yeah.
cool. Yes.
And that was a wild and super exciting ride
Mm-hmm.
that was also over the time where grit and hustle culture was what everyone was talking about.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't a time where people were talking about manifestation and alignment and
Right.
easeful creation.
Yeah.
As so much of the conversation is
Mhm.
today. It was grit, hustle, resilience, make it happen type of
Yeah.
energy. And I checked all those boxes.
And I still fall into that and have like so much admiration and respect for people that do that. But I feel like we need the boundary. We need the like, wait a minute, did I just exhaust all engines here? Do I need
Yeah.
a reset? And that's still something I'm working on embracing.
Yeah. But I was meant to do it exactly how I did it.
Yes.
Because it's what set me up to be able to share with people now about better ways to do it, which is so
Yes.
much of what human design is.
Mhm.
For me right now, like the main people that I work with are entrepreneurs, business leaders, executives who are aware
Mm-hmm.
of the tendency to overwork, to lean too heavily into strength, willpower, resilience,
Yes. Yeah.
but also have this deeper knowing that there's another way. And so this is
Yes.
what I do with people really through human design now. So I rode the juice business for 10 years. So another decade. So first decade Pilates, like really
Yep.
focused on physical
Mhm.
wellness. Next decade was all on business sprint
Yeah.
and focused on more nutritional,
Yeah.
holistic type of wellness. I was doing nutritional counseling also at that time.
Okay.
And then when I exited the juice business, really kind of took a step back and was like, what just happened?
Yes. Okay. So you didn't have any kids at this point.
No, I did. So I
So
had,
add that to the mix,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And I mean, just to maybe illustrate the level of overworking that I was engaged in when I was in the hospital having my first son, I had the laptop like literally on the hospital bed with me. I remember the last email I sent before they're like, you need to shut that down, So
You're like, I don't have time for these contractions. One more moment,
right,
please.
right. It was
Oh,
quite out
wow.
of balance.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that does illustrate like the level because hardworking means something different to everybody. So that's what we're talking about. That's next level.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was I can look at it now and see what a gift it was
Yes.
to have had the ambition, the drive, the energy to make it happen, but
Mhm.
also really feel so passionate about helping other business leaders not have it be so all consuming
for
and
sure.
still experience success and fulfillment.
Which is possible.
Totally possible.
How did you find human design?
Yeah. So, I mean, the end of my juice career it was a lot because with all of that ambition, my identity was wrapped up in it, right? I was
true.
a young entrepreneur. There were
Mhm.
so many accolades. There was all of it, like the magazine articles, the book I published, like all of these things that became woven into who
Yeah.
I was.
And it was a chapter in your life where you're still like defining who you are and figuring that out. And when it does occupy most hours in the day, you can't help but be wrapped up in it. Like that's who you are.
Yeah, I guess so. It felt that way.
Yeah.
It felt like a real leaving the business felt like a little bit of a dismantling of self.
Ooh. Okay.
Right? Like if I let go of all of these identities, let
Mhm.
go of the identity of being the person in business, the entrepreneur, whatever it is that I had
Yeah.
gotten woven into.
Yeah.
And so it was a big lead up for me to make the decision, and also feeling obligation to all the people that worked for the businesses and this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so
How many employees did you have at like the culmination when you had the most? Was it
I mean, look, like the history of the businesses is a whole separate conversation because there were mergers that happened
Oh,
with other
geez.
juice brands along the way.
That is more complex.
Yeah. And so in 2020, we let go of 400 people when COVID hit. So that was kind of like
that kind of gives you an idea of how
Yeah.
big it was.
yeah. I mean, part-time retail type
Yeah.
employees for
Yeah.
the most part, but yeah.
Did you ever, like when you were deciding to sell it and to make that change, did you know, like you knew that it was time to do that? Or were you second guessing yourself kind of throughout the process? Like how sure of it were you for people that are
There was so
trying to
much
make a
second
change?
guessing all along the way of
Really?
the business. which
Okay.
again is like part of what human design's gift is
Okay.
to business leaders, is helping people really tap into how they're uniquely wired to make decisions, how to quiet down enough to listen to that inner voice.
Okay.
Right. And so for me, there was so much second guessing. There was so much outsourcing of my authority. There was so much just listening to the noise in my head instead of really tapping in and hearing the clarity that my body and my gut was giving me. Yeah. And so all of these learnings are things that I now share with people.
Yeah. I bet you were such a good manager. Like I would love to work for someone like you. Like just open and supportive and helpful. And maybe that's where human design got you.
Yeah, thank you. I think how I got into human design was when I was leaving the business, ultimately, which was actually no longer like entirely my business in any stretch, right? Because there were all these different private equity transactions and mergers that had happened along the way. And so
It's a lot to learn about in and of itself.
oh my gosh, I mean, the business was like going to business school 17 times.
You know what? Nothing like learning,
Right.
being forced to learn, like get in there and get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I was working on, it was like a reclaiming of spirituality for me at the end of the career.
Oh, cool.
Right. That career where I was going back into things that I was interested in my early 20s, right? Interested in at the time where I was in like the world of physical, mind, body, spirit, well-being. And there was a woman I was working with, and she had 2 numbers after her profile in her WhatsApp. And I didn't really think much of it. Did a weekend retreat with her, was off social media for quite some time, turned on social media, and the very first profile that I saw had 2 digits after the person's name. And it wasn't her, it was someone else. And it brought me back immediately to that woman. And I just went on a exploration of what are these numbers that are after someone's name. And it was what's called their profile numbers in human design, which is like life themes that emerge for someone.
Okay.
So I went down the rabbit hole of human design, and I've just never come out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And another key thing that you just taught us, I think, so everyone out there, Mara's young, and how many careers has she had so far? And, you know, she's not done yet. So there's no end. Like there's just an evolution. We can always switcheroo it and up level and pull back and go in. Like this is what I think life is about.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get in a pickle and we're like, the end. But no, like your selling of the business was the beginning. Like, you know what it reminds me of? That song that every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. It's closing time.
Yeah.
That's the song.
Completely.
Yes.
Well, and to loop it back to human design, my earth energy. So the earth energy is like the piece of the design that really grounds the sun energy, right? So the sun energy is the life's work, which is for me ambition, right? Yeah. Aspiration. The earth energy for me is the 53, which is about new beginnings, and it's about evolution. And it through the learnings that are baked into the 53 is that without evolution, there can't actually be growth. And so each of these evolutions that I've been through are things that have catapulted my own growth.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So just one of the wild nuggets in your
I'm like, well, for sure, I'm going to get on your website and hook up and do my human design and do a full thing. But tell us more about it. What does it mean? How do you find it? And all those things. Because I know so little of what specific questions to ask, but I'm so confident that you know what to share. Yeah,
so that's true, but also I'm a generator, so I do really well with people asking questions.
Oh, perfect. So
I'll explain it, then you could ask. Okay,
Yay.
So it's an archetypal system. Are you familiar with what that means? So it's like built upon archetypes. So there's 5 of them in human design. There's the generator, projector, reflector, manifestor, manifesting generator. Okay, I'll explain what each of those mean. But basically, the way that you get to your human design chart, which we call a body graph, is by entering into my website or any type of chart generating website, your date, specific time, and exact location of birth.
Okay.
Based upon that information, it provides a body graph, which is basically an image of your energetic makeup.
Okay.
It tells us things like how you are meant to work with your own energy. It tells the mechanics of how your energy flows in your own auric field and plus how it engages with other people.
Oh my
It tells
gosh.
us where you're here to influence and impact others and where you are here to receive influence and impact from other people and then cultivate your own wisdom around those areas.
You can
Tells
get
us-
all that information.
There's so much. It goes
That
on
is
and on.
wild.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what I am.
Okay, what are you?
I'm a manifesting generator.
Okay.
Does that surprise you?
No.
Okay.
Why it doesn't surprise me is because manifesting generators are multifaceted. Do you know much about it?
A little bit, just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah. They're meant to have lots of balls in the air,
I do.
hence 3 children, a podcast, a thriving Pilates business, right? Like feel really good
Mhm.
with the juggle.
Yeah.
Until there's too many balls,
Yes.
right? And so the work for manifesting generators is to be in a constant state of inventory taking of what can I let go of now?
Okay.
Because when you are ready to when you allow yourself to let go of things as quickly as you enter into them, then you continually have space freed to follow the urges to initiate new things.
Ooh,
Right.
I love that. And of course, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah.
As
So
with all things.
manifesting generators are really people, and it's a huge percentage of the population. So if people go and
Mhm.
pull their charts, it's about 37% of people are manifesting generators. It's the largest pool that we
Okay.
have in human design.
Okay.
And you are really designed to both initiate but then sustain. So in business, we call manifesting generators the express builders, right? Because you can make something happen really quickly. And also, it might be totally nonlinear. And outsiders looking in would be like, what the heck? This is so out of order and backwards.
Yeah.
But for you, it is correct. And your work is really to honor that like inner knowing that it is correct for you and trust that even if you have to go back and redo steps, you're still going to get there more efficiently and more quickly than
Yeah.
most others.
What I
Yeah.
love about this is it's that whole you do you. Like it's the respect of someone is going to do it the way that resonates best with them. And you can't judge that or
Right.
come at them for not doing it the way you would have done it because guess what? You're two totally different people. We know that. But the backstory of the why is what's fascinating and gives more of like evidential proof of this is why.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even a step beyond like you do you, it's like, please, you do you. Because when you do you, then I have permission to show up as I am. And when I can just trust that you honoring your energy allows for the expression of everything to unfold exactly as it's meant to,
Mm-hmm.
versus you trying to be in a way that's not authentic to you.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, so
Yeah.
you know obviously what your husband is.
Yeah. Generator.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
both generators?
Yeah, so my husband, myself, and one of my sons is a generator. And so
Okay.
let me quickly go through each of the 5 types.
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. So manifesting generators, you just to summarize that, it's like this mix of initiating and sustaining effort.
Okay.
Okay. Generators are the sustainers. In business, we would call them the builders, right? So whereas the manifesting generator is express builder, the generator is like the person that is really here to bring life force energy to sustain the efforts over time, but it has to be something that's satisfying. It has to be something that brings actual deep satisfaction to the person, right? So
Okay.
when we, as generators, we spend our energy on things that are not in alignment or not satisfying to us, we start to feel depleted, right? And then we
Okay.
can't show up with the gift that we're here to bring, which is
Yeah.
other energy types rely upon the energy that we bring.
Okay.
Okay. So our generators can be go, go, go when the thing is correctly aligned for them, that they're
Okay.
going
That's
around.
the key.
Yes. Okay. Then we have projectors, and our projectors are our leaders and our guides who have less consistent access to the energy within them, which doesn't mean that they don't have energy, they can't get the job done, but really what they're most efficient and most skilled at is guiding other people's energies. These are people that can
Oh.
walk into a room of generators and make it so much more efficient
Mhm.
and so much more organized. Oftentimes they have skills for project management or just ordering information in a different way, but really the gift is so much about how they see,
Okay.
less about what they do. Again,
Okay.
it's not meant to say that they can't do, they can do, but it's really honoring the gift of how they see other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then we have our manifestors who are our pure initiators. So this is about 10% of the population are manifestors, where they're the people that are really here to like be the fire starters, get the thing going, but not keep their energy engaged in it for the long haul necessarily.
Okay.
They do best with lots of support and people to be able to hand things off to.
Which is key because they could be seen as someone who just quits and doesn't finish if they're not
Totally.
in the right environment with the right support.
Yeah. And they could see themselves as that. Right. So often when I sit with someone and share human design, if it's the person's first experience with human design, it's not that I'm telling them something they don't already know about themselves.
Okay, yeah.
It's that I'm giving them permission to honor what they already somewhere within them know to be true, but have made themselves wrong for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the mom in me loves that so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the last type, the fifth type, is reflectors, and it's really small, special part of the population. It's only 1% of the population. In business, we would call these people our evaluators. They're really here to reflect back a pulse on how we're all doing. And so they're very sensitive to the humans that are in their environment, very sensitive to the physical spaces that they're in. And that sensitivity, that attunement is their gift.
okay.
Yeah.
And then so what is your other son?
Okay, so my other son is a projector.
Oh.
Which, poor guy, because 3 generators and a projector.
He's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, and we're just constantly like pulling him everywhere. Like,
Yes.
let's go, Rocco. Yep. And I just actually saw a really funny post on social media that someone posted a picture, because we all snowboard in our family, of this little girl on the mountain snowboarding. And she's saying to her mom, I'm not a zoom arounder like you. I'm more like a lay arounder, because she's a projector and then the mom's a generator. And I just thought, this is so perfect. Like, this is exactly Rocco.
Yes.
Like, we're all like, let's charge her in the mountain all day. And he's like, one run's good.
Yeah.
You know?
And then support, like, from a child's mind, like, this is what I'm just trying to let you know.
Yes.
The lay arounder.
Yes. And so as parents, really honoring that, like understanding your child's design is such a gift to your children as a parent, because instead of, trying to make them work within your program, it gives you the insight to understand what's necessary and essential for this child. Right?
Okay.
So for projectors in general, like little children, even adults, do best to go to sleep before they're actually exhausted. Whereas a generator is meant, and a manifesting generator, to leave it all on the table every single day with nothing left to give. That's when they can fall into their deepest, most restful sleep and wake up and do it all again the next day. But that's not true for manifestors. That's not true for projectors or reflectors. Like, those energy types are meant to leave some gas in the tank, lay in bed, unwind, and then fall asleep.
I mean, I feel like there should be a parenting class on what is the human design of your child and who are you and how can that work in parenting? Like, that would be so much easier. There's so many, and emotions get wild. But the mom in me is like, man, I want to do all my kids' human design, and I think I would be a better mom, and we could and even educate them on, dude, you're dealing with a manifesting generator.
Yes.
I cannot help this thing. And it's so much more freeing. You give yourself permission to be, but then you're also so understanding of how others are.
Yeah.
And that's
absolutely
what we need, I think.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you the strategies for each type.
Okay.
So the reason that I said, so each energy type has a specific strategy, and the strategy is how they're meant to engage with their energy in the world, like how their energy interacts with the world. Okay. And the reason I said, like, I do really well with answering questions is because I'm a generator, and the generator strategy is one of being in response. Okay. So for generators, so this is like, if you know your child is a generator, they do very well with questions that are very specific and options, right? This or that. Open-ended questions for generators and manifesting generators is blurry and maybe even difficult, right? But for projectors or manifestors or reflectors, open-ended questions are really powerful. Okay. Right? So the generator is to respond, which basically means, like, you are not meant to seek and chase and push an effort to make things happen. You are meant to spend your energy on the things that are deeply satisfying to you, and trust that as you do that, your magnetism expands so that correctly aligned opportunities and people can be pulled into your orbit. In which case, then you just respond to what's already around you. So the work as a generator is opening your eyes to what's in front of you, seeing what's in your orbit, and then being in response to it.
Okay.
For manifesting generators, the strategy, because it has that generator piece, is also to respond, but then it has another layer of to inform. What this means is same as generator, like to be in response to the world around you, but the manifesting piece is a little bit more of that initiating power.
Okay.
And it's the thing that has you keep so many balls in the air at once, right? Or feel good sometimes, with that being the expression of your energy.
Mm-hmm.
So the informing piece is about looping people in at the proper time on what you're up to. So people feel like they're on the train with you.
Oh, nice.
Not just being dragged behind the Kristin train, right?
Okay,
Right.
that makes sense.
So for key relationships or people that are impacted or influenced by the things that you're doing or no longer doing, to make sure that you're looping them in.
Okay.
Then for our projectors, the strategy is called to wait for the invitation. And so what this means is our projectors, because remember their strategy, the way that they engage with the world is about how they see, and they're such deep seers. They can sit across from someone and very quickly know their gifts, very quickly know what's special and unique about this person. And so their own strategy is wait for the invitation, meaning that they're waiting for other people or opportunities to invite them in where they feel deeply recognized and seen for what they bring to the table.
Okay.
Yeah. And so being in a place as a projector where you make sure that your gifts are, first of all, that you know your gifts.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That what's authentically here to be expressed through you, not the conditioned things that you think you're meant to be, but what's authentically you. And that you're putting yourselves in a position as a projector where your gifts can be seen and known so that you can receive correctly aligned invitations.
Okay.
Right? Because if no one can see what you're up to or what it is that you have skills and gifts at, then it's hard to receive the aligned invitations that are meant for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
This all makes sense,
Yeah.
but not, because it's like so much deeper than I've ever thought about. It gives backing to things that I've thought,
Yes.
but I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah. It's useful. It's
Yes.
very useful.
Super useful.
Yeah. And it's just a lens, right? And it's to be held lightly. And, nothing that I ever share with someone is meant to be dogmatic or it has to be adhered to. But it's like, where can I apply this
Mm-hmm.
in my life? Where do I see this in myself? And
Yeah.
and how do I practice it? How do I practice the self-honoring of what I know to be true about my energy?
Mm-hmm.
And it also gives language for things that, like you're saying, like
Yes.
I've thought of,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe haven't contemplated in a deep way because there's not been otherwise language to apply to it and assign
Yes.
to it.
And if
Yeah.
there's something in my brain that's like, I need to make sense of all this and label things and put things here,
Yes.
it gives me a little insight into doing that and
Yes.
figuring out like where I can put things. So
Yes.
it's easier
Yeah.
to navigate.
Yeah.
Anyway, I interrupted you.
Okay, manifestors, the strategy is to initiate and inform. So our manifestors are people that we rely on to be the sparks,
Yes. Okay.
right? To honor their urges. That's so much of the work for a manifestor is like giving themselves permission to honor their urges and the surges that come up in their energy to do something that really doesn't make any logical sense,
Mhm.
possibly, right?
Yeah.
But to give themselves the freedom to do that. Like freedom is the love language for manifestors. And so as a manifesting generator, you might resonate with that also,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Like
I
that piece of it. Yeah.
I certainly do.
Yes. Yeah. And so for manifestors, it's this honoring of the initiating energy within you and then also the informing, right? Because they start things very quickly,
Mhm.
which is aligned for them. But it's just like, okay, well, who are the people that you might be affecting by doing this and making sure that they
Yes.
know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the reflectors is really, it's to wait for a lunar cycle, which that sounds very woo. But really what the reflector essence is that there's so much openness and receptivity in their design, and
Mhm.
they are highly influenced by the transits, the
Okay.
astrological transits.
Yep.
And as I mentioned earlier, by the people or the physical space that they're in.
Yeah.
And so for reflectors, they really do have dependency on patience with themselves, on giving themselves adequate time and space to process,
Okay.
and really using that time and space as trying things on in different times and cycles of the transits or different physical spaces, different physical places because it can all influence how they're feeling about something.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of following a lunar cycle just on things that I want to do
Yeah.
and when to do it and when to like take a beat
Yes.
and rest. So I'm in on that. I think it is powerful. I mean, everything is cyclical. So
Yes.
it's powerful when harnessed, I think.
Yeah. Well, and when we really start paying attention to the transits and then looking at our designs, because what happens, and this is maybe a little bit complex, but I'll try to explain it right. So
Okay.
in human design, we actually all are everything.
Okay. Give me a beat. All
Okay.
are everything. Okay.
So there's no hierarchy.
Okay. I like
Okay.
that.
It's all, there's no design that's better than another. And
Right.
the way that the mechanics of a human design body graph works is that you have your places where you have consistent access to your own energy, which in human design we call definition.
Okay.
And then based upon what's happening in the astrological transits or based upon who you're sitting in a room with, new energy emerges. So in human design, it's not the belief that 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 equals an entirely new entity of energy that exists.
Okay.
And so when I say we're all everything, it's just that there's activations that come in based upon the astrological transits that bring a new piece of us
Yes.
alive.
Okay.
Or I sit here with you and maybe I don't have my head chakra in my human design chart defined, but you do. And the way our charts sync up together, now I do.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden I have access to this piece of myself or this download of my own thoughts through my throat chakra that I wouldn't otherwise be able to access.
Yes.
So this is why you have certain friends that you sit with and it's like these parts of you come alive
Yes.
that don't come alive with anyone else in your world.
Yeah.
And that's what that experience is. It's like your design and their design coming together and creating this new access that's within you.
We were talking about this a few episodes ago. We had Julie Jancis on, and she was talking about how you can sit with someone who's maybe, we just called it awareness, like a 9-10 of awareness, and someone who's only 1-2 aware can suddenly be sucked up to that level just because of the energetic exchange, which is like a really blankety way to explain the details of what you just shared. Like same concept.
Same concept.
Coming at it from different ways. And that's what I love about where we're at in the world right now is no matter what your jam is it, like, are we talking about connecting with angels? Are we talking about human design? But we're all getting to that same level of connection and the conceptual, like we're
all saying the same thing.
Yes.
It's
I
all
love
the
that.
same.
Yep, it is.
It's just, I mean, when people, my dad's a great example. He'll ask me, wait, you do what? And people pay you to tell them what?
Wait, what is he?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I have my thoughts because he doesn't know his birth time.
Yep.
And also, I think this is an important point to share. He's not into human design, right?
Okay.
And
so that's a factor.
And he's my dad and he's my first love. And I would love to dive into his chart and like know all the pieces and parts.
Yep.
But the truth is, it's like, I just received my dad as my dad, right? And I think this is an important thing to highlight. It's like to be careful not to label people, right? Like, sure, the mental part of me is like, oh, I wonder what he is and this,
Yes.
But he's my dad and he's not into this and I don't need to label him as something so that I can know him better.
Yes. And that's the hard part sometimes is you're so into something. Like it reminds me of when we were completing our Pilates certification and it was all about like bony landmarks and the alignment of everything. And everybody I saw was like, you could pull your shoulders back and you could probably lengthen your shoulders. Like I'm analyzing the hell out of everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody wanted my help in fixing their posture.
Right.
Because no one's broken. We just are where we are. And so
that's so wise. Yeah.
You kind of throw out like, this is what I do. And if anyone's interested, they'll ask. But it took me quite a while before I was like calm enough to not try to fix everyone's posture that walked by me.
Yeah.
And here we are.
The coaching program that I went through, like before human design, I went through it actually when I was still in my business, my past juice business, because
you had all that extra time.
Well, I had all these employees and I'm like, I need to figure out how to lead these people,
Yeah.
And so the principle of it is that you hold every person as creative, resourceful, and whole.
Okay.
It's one of the principles of the coactive coaching model, it's called.
Okay.
Every single human that you engage with is creative, resourceful, and whole. And I hold that still when I'm in a human design session, because oftentimes people come to human design because they're feeling broken,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or they're
Yeah.
going through some major transition and they're not
Totally.
sure how to navigate it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, really, human design, or when you spoke earlier about someone speaking about connecting to angels and guides, or every conversation that anyone, in my opinion, who's actually worth engaging with in the spiritual space or in the wellness space,
Mm-hmm.
our job is just to return people back to their own light.
Yes.
And that's it.
That's it.
And so everyone's having the same conversation
Mm-hmm.
with different lenses and different ways that they're doing that.
Yes. Yeah. Whatever resonates, whatever your path is, like that's the goal. Come
Yes.
back. And I love that. There's so much on social media that's great and so much that I'm like, that's a little skeptical, but it, enabling and empowering, that's a better word. Empowering people to feel confident enough to be them, I think is priceless because it's so easy to feel a little bit broken down and a little bit less than and a little bit undeserving. And the mom in me like really wants everyone just to be happy and love themselves.
Yes.
And I also feel like there's a little bit of like you mentioned it earlier, like there's no hierarchy, there's no human design that's better than another one.
Right.
We are raised in a world that's so like competitive. Even I see it on Sunday afternoon when my husband and my son are watching football. And this is like something they're introduced to, we're all introduced to early on, is like competitive sports.
Yeah.
You watch it on TV, there's a winner and a loser, and you take your team whatever, and I'm team this, and they battle it out on Sunday, and there's a winner and a loser. And the winner's better and the loser's worse.
Yeah.
And that's how we're gonna walk away from the game. And it tears me up that we're such a competitive society because it trickles over into so many, many ways of life. And
Yeah. And it starts so young, right? And in
Yeah.
these early years when they're
Mhm.
still forming a sense of, I can lose and not be a loser.
right.
Right. And there's a place in our human design charts that I look, your heart center. Some
Okay.
people call it the ego center. So this is the place where willpower and self-worth really lives. And in human design, if someone has this center defined, or if you're looking at your chart, it would be colored in, then this is someone that is actually meant to engage in healthy competition. Like it's really good and healthy for them and for their energy. But that's only 30% of the population.
I
Yeah.
believe that.
So 70% of people are on this lifelong journey of proving their worthiness and understanding their inherent worthiness.
Mhm.
And then we put them at such a young age. And it's difficult because it's fun and it's fun for them in some ways, but it's a very fine line on like the external validation. And
Completely.
even when someone has this design and I'm in a parenting session, if the center is undefined, then I'm very diligent about working with the parents of saying, like, when you speak to your child, to tell them, I'm so happy for you. Are you proud of yourself?
Oh, that's
And
good.
asking that question
Yeah.
instead of saying, I'm so proud of you. Because it actually doesn't matter if you're proud of them,
Yeah.
right? It might matter to them right now.
Yep.
But when they're an adult, do you want them to be out in the world trying to make their mom or dad proud?
Exactly.
Seeking some external validation, like starting in these early years, like especially if we're going to be engaged in things like competitive sports at age 5, right? Because it very quickly moves from like, oh, they're having fun playing soccer on the soccer field to they're training for the Olympics.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
They got private coaches. And a
Right.
crazy mom.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so just these little language switches when we look at the nuances of design can really be helpful for not just
Completely.
children, but us
Mhm.
grown.
I
people
love that. When
also.
you think about like as a mom, I keep saying that, but that's who I am. When you think about like if you can keep it in perspective of who you want your child to be in terms of like you want them to feel whole and deserving and loved and happy. And if that stays like as the goal for them as an adult, then the parenting early on seems to take more of a purposeful path. But we're all a little bit not broken, but we all have our thing.
Yeah.
And that thing.
Conditioned.
Yes.
We're conditioned.
And those come out. Like I've learned so much more about myself as a parent than I ever think I would have had I not had these 3 individuals that and I tell them all the time, like, man, I'm learning a lot from you.
Yeah.
And that's not always a compliment.
Yes. Yeah.
Just kidding, kids. I love you. But it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
What else about human design?
Okay.
I know, and it is honestly, it's so in depth, you guys. It's just she's giving us. We're just scratching the surface, I think. So I know I'm not the only one that's going to be hitting your website later and getting. I'm doing a deep dive. Just
Yeah. Oh, pulled up a chart.
yes.
Amazing.
Guess who that is?
Is that you?
That's me.
Solomon, our producer.
Fellow generator 4-6. So I think one of the places that are most commonly discussed in human design are type, which we talked about, the 5 types, strategy, which correspond with the type, and then authority, which is your decision-making authority. So maybe we could talk about that for a second. So like Solomon is a sacral decision maker based upon his chart. He has that square that's in the center. The second one from the bottom, defined. That's the sacral center.
Gotcha.
So anyone that's a generator or manifesting generator is going to have that colored in.
Are these like chakra things?
The shapes, the geometric shapes, yeah. So these are your energy centers. There's 9 of them in human design, whereas the traditional Hindu chakra system, there's 7.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so within these energetic centers, then there's the numbers that are colored in or not colored in. And these numbers correspond with the I Ching. Are you familiar with the I Ching? The I Ching is one of our most ancient texts that Taoism is based upon. And so many Chinese traditions are based upon it. People call it the original tarot. It was the tarot before there was tarot. It translates to the Book of Changes. And it's basically a book that studies the patterns of the universe.
Okay.
It's
I feel like
phenomenal.
I need to read this.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Okay. Is it an easy read?
No.
Okay.
It's very hard.
I was expecting you to say that. I was going to be shocked if you're like, oh my God, you can breeze through it in an afternoon.
Yeah.
No,
but
okay.
there's a few different versions of it that I have that I love. So I'll send you. There's one called The Living I Ching.
And we'll put all this in the show notes.
Yeah.
So it'll be included underneath.
Okay. So decision-making authority. The decision-making authority is how you are uniquely wired to make decisions. So for Solomon as a sacral decision maker, and I haven't seen your chart, so I don't know what your decision-making authority is. But okay, as a sacral decision maker, this is someone that's designed to make decisions in the moment. You are meant to feel the bodily response, whether it's a contraction or an expansion. The contraction is your no, the expansion is your yes. So the first question when I sit with someone and we're talking about decision-making authority is like, can you feel your body? Can you feel if you're in a contraction? Can you feel if you're sitting across from someone and you're leaning in and giving them visceral, guttural noises like, yes, or if you're going really quiet, right? Because these are your body's indicators of are you a yes or are you a no? So this is, in my opinion, especially working with so many business leaders, the most impactful piece of human design that someone can grasp very early on is that all of the 7 decision-making authorities move us out of our mind and into our body.
Interesting.
And so the mind is a logical processor. It's a place where we are meant to analyze and process information. It is obviously an important piece of making decisions, but it is not the authority. The authority happens in different energetic centers that live within the body. And it's different for each person, right? Well, there's 7 of them, so it depends which yours is. But sacral authority is like there's truth in the now, and the work is to honor the truth that's in the now without allowing your mind to supersede what your body's information is telling you.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And so your mind in human design is there to order the information, pull in inspiration, maybe pull in different opinions, weigh the pros and cons, analyze, create the spreadsheet, whatever it is that you need to do to satisfy that mental desire to have input, but then to create a distinct handoff into your body.
Okay.
What is your gut saying? Okay. If you're a sacral decision maker, it's about getting in touch with your gut knowing and honoring the truth that happens in the now. Now, the next most common decision-making authority is emotional. And that's the triangle that's off to the right of the square, right? Are people still looking at the chart or no?
Yes, they are.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
So on this chart, it's white, so it's undefined, right? But if
Okay.
you were an emotional decision maker, that triangle would be colored in or defined.
Okay.
And as an emotional authority, there's actually not truth in the now. Your truth is meant to emerge over time. And so emotional decision makers are meant to be more methodical, slower, maybe sleep on it for 1, 2, 3 nights, allow themselves to feel the high expression and the low expression, the high wave, the low wave of the energy.
I bet that's me.
Yeah, it'd be
What's you?
interesting to see. I'm emotional.
Okay.
And I'm a very slow decision maker. Less so, actually, since knowing my human design, because I used to take too long to make decisions
Okay.
because I would be in the mental gymnastics, right? Over analyzing.
Yes.
Yeah. And so now that I have this understanding of being an emotional authority and allowing myself to find this place of calm, neutrality, which lives below, like in between the high and the low of the emotional experience.
Okay.
And the other piece of being an emotional authority is understanding that emotions are muddy and you don't get to be certain.
Okay.
So,
I mean, there's freedom in that, but also I was kind of hoping that we would get to be certain.
but it's so freeing to say, I'm 70% sure, and that's good enough.
Okay. Yes.
If I'm 70% sure, that's my yes. And I am choosing not to engage in the mental gymnastics that I previously would have to try to analyze my way into more certainty to get me to that extra 30%, which I actually never got to.
Okay.
Right.
That is good because I mean, when it's time for me to make a big decision, I'm try to be methodical and confident, but I am second guessing myself a lot. And I do the whole I'm never going to make a decision in the moment. I must sleep on it. And that I just buy some time so I can marinate in my choices.
And so also honoring the body response, because that body response is really coming from that sacral center. And if you have the emotional authority for you specifically because you're a manifesting generator, I know your sacral is defined because it has to be in order to be a manifesting generator. So you're also, it's like giving yourself space and time, but also really tuning into the body.
Okay.
Which you're skilled at.
Yes.
Right. So
by trade.
Using it as your tool for decision making.
Okay.
Actually, your authority. The mind's the tool. So it's a flip of the hierarchy, right?
Okay.
The mind's the tool, the body's the authority because we're conditioned to do it the other way around. It's like somewhere, one day, someone's like, we make decisions from our mind.
Yes.
And everyone said, okay.
Which, how many bad ideas came up like that in the world? Does that serve us?
Yeah.
There's so much to know about this, but you make it sound so doable and easy. So I love that.
It's so doable, so easy. I mean, there's so many layers. You can go deep as you wish, but understanding your type and the mechanics of how your energy engages with the world around you, understanding your strategy of how to make it easeful and find alignment, and understanding your decision making is really such a beautiful foundational place to start for people.
Okay. Yeah.
The next place that I go to is the energetic centers, because these are the places where we can really cultivate so much wisdom and self-awareness, and where we look at what is the conditioning that I've taken on and called self versus what is self. And then our profile. So your profile in human design are the 2 numbers that I spoke to earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's 6 different profile numbers, but we get 2. So there's 12 different orientations of them.
Okay.
And do we have time to go through?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So the 1, if you have a 1, and if you're looking at your chart, you're looking at the number that comes after the decimal point on the top 2 numbers on the left and right of your chart. Okay. So there's a number that comes after the decimal point, and you read the one that's on the right side first. Okay. So for me, I'm a 4-1. So the 1 is the investigator. Okay. So if you're a 1, you're someone who loves a good investigative journey, loves to build a very strong foundation of knowledge. And actually, your foundation of knowledge is a piece of your foundational footing that helps you feel stable and safe in the world.
Oh, nice.
Right? Yeah. And so it's that people that are 1, it's always correct for them to invest in their foundation of, whatever they consider to be foundationally important. So if it's family, if it's home, health, whatever their core pillars are for themselves, and also knowledge. So if there's something that really turns them on and excites them,
Yeah.
that is where they're meant to pour their energy into.
Okay.
learning. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then our 2s are, we call the natural. Some people call it the hermit. So the energy of it too is really about what comes most naturally and easily for you, and how do you get better at that thing. And oftentimes when something is so natural to you, you wouldn't recognize it as a gift within yourself. And so there's reliance on other people to call it out in you. And then your work as a 2 is to listen, like, does this feel correct for me? And if it is, like, how can I honor this more? And that hermit energy is really like the 2 just in general loves to be cozy at home, like doing their own thing, kind of hiding
I'm a lay
away.
arounder.
I'm a lay arounder, yeah. So then the 3 is all about trial and error. So the 3 is our experiential wisdom gatherers, I like to call them, that really just need to experience life for themselves. They're not one to trust someone else's wisdom, which is such a beautiful trait. Like, they have to experience it for themselves.
Which you would think they would then be fairly resilient and confident, knowing when they go into something after several attempts at life, like, well, this could go either way.
Yeah.
So they're ready for it to not go so well and bounce back and go again.
Completely. Resilience is a trait of third lines for sure.
Yeah, that's
It's
awesome.
a beautiful gift. Yeah. And one of the lessons for a third line is to really be okay with messy action, and to know that the way that they grow is through getting it wrong so that they can get it right. And to not view anything as a failure, but view it as an opportunity to learn and to gain wisdom, right?
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And as parents, if you have third line children, it's helpful to know, right? Because this is the kid that you want to be able to give a taste of a lot of different things so that they can try it on themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Then the 4 line is what we call the networker. And this is someone that it's not networking in the traditional sense where it's like, I do this and get this, but it's more like, who's your community and who are the people that feel really excellent to be in their energy? And even if there's no aligned opportunities that you see today, or there's no reason, if we're in the business world, that you want to be engaged with this person, but it just feels good to be with them. Doing that and trusting that aligned opportunities will come over time. So nourishing the relationships that we have. 4th line, like, I joke that I had a 4th line wedding because I'm a 4-1. And my wedding was such like a 4th line event. My friend's mom made the cake. We got married in my friend's yard.
I love that.
My girlfriend traded Pilates for my flowers for a year. We had a lot of flowers.
It's a lot of Pilates. Everybody's winning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just like one of those things where it's like the community kind of is everything. And if anyone pulls their chart and sees they have a 4 and feels like community is a place that they're lacking, that should be the primary focus.
Okay. Yeah.
Because everything comes into alignment when we have that solved.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have the 5 energy, and the 5 is sometimes called the savior. And it's our leaders, really. Like, 5 energies are such big leaders because they just have this savior energy where people look to them and think that they can solve their problems.
Interesting.
Which is a gift, right?
It's a gift.
And it comes with the requirement for a lot of self-awareness because people are going to want your help with things if you're a 5. And so really being mindful of, is this something that I want to help with? Is this a calling upon a skill or a talent or a gift within me that I want to cultivate and honor? Or
you'd have to be really precise and careful with your words if people are listening to you that carefully.
Yes.
I mean, we should do it anyway. But there's a little extra pressure if you're the savior out there and people are really leaning into what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, because 5 energies oftentimes have a lot of reach. They can have big reach.
Yep.
And so it is important to be mindful of what they say and also what they say yes to, because there's conversation in human design that the 5 comes with a projection field. And so what that means is, like, people see something in you that's really a reflection of them, which is true for everyone, right? But it's big with the 5th line. And so it's this self-inventory taking when you are asked to do something to really reflect, like, is this something I want to do? Because what can happen is if you have a 5 energy, who, let's say we talked about that heart center.
Yeah.
So if that heart center is open and you're a 5 and you're trying to prove yourself, improve your value, improve your worthiness, you're saying yes to things, hoping to do that.
Yes.
And then it's not correctly aligned. It doesn't work out. That person that you were doing the thing for is upset, but you're more upset and you're more let down.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a pattern that sometimes 5th lines have to work through and identify within themselves and transcend.
Yes.
And then we have our 6th line. And the 6th line is called the role model. And this is really someone who lives life in 3 distinct phases. And the first phase is a lot of trial and error, like the 3rd line. A lot of experiential wisdom gathering. And then they move into the roof stage where they are now really have cultivated objective wisdom through all of those experiences. And they're called the role model because people are just watching what they're doing and they're like, it's working for that person. I want to know how to do that.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like when you say that, I can think of several people that I love to watch them do their thing and be like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are the 6 profile lines. And that's another really powerful place to lean into your design because it kind of clues you into some of the themes that allow your purpose, if there is a purpose, to unfold.
So with all this, with all the offerings we have, how can someone, say they go to your website, they do their chart. And then what's the next step to work with you? Because we're kind of winding things down now, but I don't want to leave people hanging. I want them to know like what's next to connect with you and really benefit from all the information that human design has to offer.
Yeah. So the 2 main offerings that I have right now that are human design focused are something called the Energy Blueprint, which someone can immediately download on the website. So if you go to the website, you fill in the information to get your chart and you scroll down, you can purchase what's called the Deep Dive Energy Blueprint, which goes over everything we spoke about specifically to your design.
Perfect.
Plus so much more.
I
wrote that guide over the course of a year. And it's beautiful information that is so actionable for people. And then I offer sessions. I offer one-to-one sessions. Yeah.
And do you book those on your website or is
you know what? I actually don't have it open right now because it's pretty tight for through the end of the year, and I haven't started booking next year yet. But if someone emails me and they have something happening that really needs attention or they love navigating, I'll figure it out. I always do. Yeah. And you can DM me on Instagram. I'm
perfect.
Always working on being more engaged there.
Aren't we all? Like it's another job in and of itself sometimes.
Yes.
Like this was so fun.
Thank you
loved
so
it.
much.
Thank you for coming. I feel like I
Thank you
learned
for having me.
so much. And it was, of course, wonderful to reconnect with you. I'm definitely making an appointment maybe after your schedule opens back up for the next year because I, of course, want the report, but I want to sit with you and talk about it and go through it and really break down some stuff personally and business-wise with me. I feel like I
would love to do that.
That would be fun. Okay. All right, you guys, that's it. We are thrilled and so grateful that Marra joined us today. And we'll put all the details in the podcast notes. And thank you.
Thank you.